Good morning, Lagos, Nigeria. Top of the morning to you once again. Thank you for joining us on the second part of Dailies today. We're live from our studios on Etimi and Crescent Victoria Island, Lagos this morning. I am Sheriff Quadry. I have joining me virtually this morning from the FCT, Dr. Majeed Dahiru. Dr. Majeed, good morning to you and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Lagos. Good morning.
Yes, indeed. Let's begin. We've got some really interesting stories this morning. We're going to start from the Daily Trust newspaper, Dr. Majeed. Let's start with this story here on page 3 of the Trust. 2027 APC PDP bicker over premature campaigns. Dr. Majeed, I'm sure as a stakeholder, you must have been wondering what is going on this time around. Why did we start campaign? Why did political parties start campaigning way too early? And what are the dangers of this?
Well, the thing is this. Sometimes you can't really regulate these things because one cannot really say for sure what constitutes a definition of campaign according to the laws or the regulations of INEC. And so, for me, these things come and go. Politics is part of democracy, and there's no democracy without politics. As long as politicking is in line with advancing the cause of good governance, is in line with showcasing what you have done, and some other person is saying, no, you've not done well, we'll do better. If that be the case, and as far as I'm concerned, campaigns can be all around the year for 4 years. It's a democracy. But what is not actually good for us is when people now abandon governance entirely for partisan political activities, or in some cases even use governance to advance partisan political causes. And that is, for me, where the concern is. And this does not always come through campaigns or even handing of billboards. It comes through state policies, both at the center and at the subnational. So what is of concern for me is the ability to blend politics and governance seamlessly in a manner that will not allow governance to suffer in any way at all. But if it is about showcasing what you have done, challenging the president ahead of 2027, saying it's not done well, it simply tells you that that is the mood in the country. Some people are in a hurry to see the back of the president or the ruling APC for power, while those in power, the APC and the president, of course, are trying to assert their own rights and their own privileges to remain in power because, according to them, they have performed. And they are continuously challenging the opposition to say, bring up your own alternative. So, in a way, it's not so much of a problem, but it could have been healthier if the basis for campaigning now or political discourse is a contestation of good ideas for good governance by way of alternatives between the ruling party and the opposition. That's what we are not saying clearly now. Otherwise, for me, there's nothing really wrong with politicking. I mean, politics and democracy go hand in hand. They're inseparable.
Right. But let's look at it. Let's look at the angle of from which INEC, the role INEC is playing in all of this. What can INEC do really? Because INEC has said that, look, we can't do anything really. Some people are in charge of regulating, advertisement in Nigeria. Why can't they do something? Majeed, who should do something? Who should make sure that all of these players abide by the rules of the game?
Okay, now, I think the very rule that seeks to limit timelines for campaigns is anachronistic. It is something you cannot implement. It's faulty. It's like trying to regulate sexual relationship between a man and a woman in Nigeria. You can't do it. Because man is as sexual as he's political. So if man is a political animal, he's also a sexual animal. So you can't regulate that aspect of him effectively. Now, what should happen is self-regulation from pressure mounted upon parties from the very people themselves. So, for instance, if a political party is seen as very unserious and is always doing campaigns instead of governance, people should just watch a political party naturally. That is why INEC's fundamental rule now should be to conduct election that is above board like Caesar's wife. Elections that cannot be contestable. Elections that are not just free and fair, but seen to be so. If I then concentrate on that rule, people's pressure, people power will not regulate political parties. to move focus on governance, knowing that on the election, the INEC will allow people to vote you in or vote you out, depending on how they perceive you. So if INEC really wants to clean up the space, the key lies with free, fair election that is watertight against all forms of electoral banditry and manipulation. So INEC's real role here for me is for them to concentrate on that key mandate that they have of organizing and conducting elections in a manner that will reflect the wishes of the people, which is the real element, the real ingredient, the main fundamentals of democracy. About regulating this issue, they don't have the power, they can't do it. You can't even just I mean, a lot of things constitute campaign in a sense. A president can decide to give a national broadcast to tell you what he has done in the last 2.5 years. Will you call that a campaign, or will you say that it is illegal for him to do so? Somebody can also place adverts all over the place and raise 4 fingers. I mean, 4 plus 4 fingers, 8. How do you, I mean, and it's not traceable to anybody per se, but it's on behalf of somebody. How do you prosecute the candidate for that? So it's tricky. And I've seen other democracies. The truth is, in other democracies, even though theirs is more about contestation of good ideas, of alternative but good ideas of governance, of delivery of good governance, campaigns are almost all around the year. That's the truth. You see rallies, you see movement, but they are all, progressive activities towards improving their democracy. For instance, in the UK, when you arrive in the UK and you are going to be a resident of the UK for some time, the 2 leading parties, the Conservatives and the Labour Party, will approach you with a manifesto, will try to woo you to their side. They'll be telling you the things that they do well and how they do better, and even offer you job opportunities. So you see, the multi-party system is so important that ordinarily it should function 24 hours of the day, all around the year. But it should function in a manner that does not disrupt governance, but actually adds value to governance. That is the difference.
Indeed. Yes, indeed. Let's move on to our next story. This next story is everywhere, and it's about the president's return to Nigeria. And Dr. Majeed, I don't know why this is such a big deal. I mean, is there something that we're missing? Why is this such a big story in the papers this morning about the president's return? They're calling it the president cut short his return. Is there something that is happening that you know that I don't know?
Honestly, I don't know of anything happening that should make a president who is cutting short a visit that have become one too many.
It's really everywhere in the papers this morning, and I'm wondering why is this such a big?
For me, it's possible that the information managers of the president maybe are trying to deliberately cause of distractions away from the real issues on ground. Otherwise, if there's any substance to the reason why he's coming back earlier than scheduled, then they should make an announcement. They should say it. They should do it. So I don't know. Except, of course, he wants to go and change his cabinet, which I don't have any information about it at all. I said he wants to change his service chiefs, which he can do from the way he is. So what else would he be coming home to do that is this so anticipated? I don't know. Unless I don't have any information. But again, I do not think it should be something that should, dominate headlines in such a manner. Except newspapers or editors have scoops, have exclusives as to the reason why it's so bad. So far, I've not seen any. Believe that the president is so concerned about Nigeria that I had to cut short his vacation to come back earlier than scheduled.
Indeed. Let's move on. Let's move on to our next story. I just thought to throw that in actually, because I'm wondering whether you have the scoop for us this morning. Let's move on to the next story. And this is about the PDP. This story on page 4 of the Guardian reads: PDP throws 2027 presidential ticket open to all regions. I thought that I read in the papers sometime some few weeks ago that they have zoned their presidential ticket to the south. What can you say about this?
Although it depends on who is speaking from the PDP. Sometimes what I've observed in the media is that some lone voices will take the NWC can make statement and the media will run with it as a PDP position. But what remains sacrosanct is that at the last NWC meeting, and I think the next meeting, that resolution was actually adopted that need to pick a candidate from the south. However, it was understood that whenever a party zones to any part of the country, it does not preclude others from picking forms and contesting.
Okay.
The only thing is that the party machinery and the party, bulwark will simply work towards the emergence of a candidate from the particular zone they deem fit. The only time that candidates were prevented entirely from buying forms and participating in primaries was in 1998. That was before the 1999 Constitution came into effect. When the entire country had resolved then that power should shift to the south, and especially the southwest, and Abubakar Arimi purchased the PDP nomination form for presidential primaries. His check was returned to him and clearly told that the North cannot participate. But yes, the Constitution does not have a provision for zoning per se. It only has an arrangement, or should I say, it only has an indicator for inclusion and equity, which politicians have now reduced to zoning in their own understanding. So what that means is that while the party can say, okay, we are going to the south, it doesn't mean anybody from the north cannot pick the form. You can pick. But you better show that the major organs of the party, the major power brokers within the party, are likely to work for the management of the candidate from the south. So if you recall in 2003, when the Obasanjo was going to contest for the second time, Rimi this time around was allowed to purchase the form and went to the primaries. But because the PDP had resolved that the power should remain in the south post 2023, the bulk of the delegates voted for Obasanjo against Rimi decisively. Now, if you look at the last primary election by the APC, for instance, a lot of people in the APC, a lot of strong, leaders, strong voices, influential members of the APC, had indicated that we're going to the south by 2023. But that did not preclude Ahmed Lawan, for instance, or Yabelo from the north from picking the nomination form. But
that's right.
Everything was now mobilized towards the preferred candidate from the south and the person in mind. That's because the Constitution cannot be infringed while trying to uphold party resolutions. But party resolutions are sometimes advised to be abided by members of the party because it shows integrity and faith in the inner workings of the party and the principles that guide the party. So it's essentially voluntary. So there's nothing, nobody can be excluded under the Constitution from contesting for president. But be rest assured that from what I know about the PDP resolution, the party in itself is going to work assiduously for the emergence of a southern candidate, except he changes his mind before the election. So it's open to everybody. Yes. Okay. So that is balancing constitutionalism of freedom of participation on one hand, and party resolution doesn't want to narrow it down. So in this case, it means if you're not in PDP, you're going to sacrifice your privileges, sacrifice your right to contest. To say, look, for the good governance of this country, for the purpose of justice and equity, I cede my right to contest and support somebody from the south. That is what that resolution essentially means.
Okay, let's go take another story this time. Let's look at this story, insecurity story. Bandits commander Adoalero kills traditional ruler in Safe, Zamfara. That's on page 9. You would find other story. This other one in the Guardian newspaper. Obi decries normalization of violence as Kwara youths make distress call. That story is on page 29. My question, Dr. Majeed, is why have we not been able to tackle insecurity, especially bandits' violence, terrorism? Why has it been elusive?
There's no political will.
There's no political will.
You see, the leadership of the North, and this is where we need to hold some people responsible. The leaders of the region and the people who have considered themselves into this dangerous set of killers are either not serious about this matter or outrightly complicit. And let me say this. Whenever I hear this nonsense called non-kinetic approach to security, it riles me up. Because there is no such thing in the textbook of national security where you have an insurgency and insurrection. Non-kinetic approach to insecurity simply means elements of good governance, trying to convince citizens to be more law-abiding and loyal to the country, using all sundry subterranean means, which includes entertainment, for instance, which includes art and culture, simple, which includes information dissemination. But when you have an insurgency at hand, people have raised arms to kill fellow citizens and to hold the state to ransom. You don't talk about non-kinetic approach. You deploy the full might of the state to defeat internal or external enemies, or let me put it rightly, domestic or foreign enemies. as enshrined in the Constitution. So when northern governors begin to play with this idea of non-kinetic approach to security and are routinely offering amnesty, negotiations, discussions with bandits, what they are doing constitutes a violation of the Constitution. It is illegal, it is unreasonable, and for me, in case they do not know, they have become accomplices to the crime of banditry. Because the Constitution does not give any governor the power to organize peace meeting with killers of men and destroyers of properties. It does nowhere in the Constitution where there's a provision to say, okay, if people have killed 100 people, the governor of the state can call meeting and appease them. It's not in the Constitution. What is in the Constitution is that if you raise arms to kill one person, you go in for it according to the law. There's no amnesty in our Constitution. There's no negotiation of bandits in our Constitution. So what the governors have been in the north and some other leaders that are advancing this negotiation and amnesty, whatever, what they are doing is that they are committing a crime by being accomplices to banditry. And the state is sitting idle by. Any governor that this, as I've seen in recent times, the DSS is supposed to pencil down such a governor for prosecution after office once they lose their immunity. It's a crime. We must not condone this anymore. Because the result has been that it has emboldened these bandits to restock their armament, their cache of armament, embolden them, and they are spread across the country. As we are giving them amnesty in Katsina, in Sokoto, and other places in the northwest, they are moving south towards north-central states like Kogi, Kwara, and they are moving southwards towards the Atlantic, and wreaking the same havoc they have been wreaking across the country. Because you cannot rehabilitate a criminal, a bandit whose sole motive is money. He has tasted blood money. There is nothing you can do about it anymore until you kill him and neutralize him. Unfortunately, we have people playing politics with this matter. And so the battle keeps festering. And that's why we've not been able to defeat them. We have given solutions to this problem. If you look at banditry, for instance, it's a culturally motivated crime with the end goal of making money. Simple. They have no basis for doing what they are doing. Now, I hear people often cite the example of Niger Delta militancy and the amnesty that was offered to them. And I said, look, these were two different scenarios. The Niger Delta is the region that produces crude oil that sustains the entire country. It's been sustaining us since the early 70s exclusively, more than 50 years. But unfortunately, the Nigerian state itself had not been just, fair, and equitable to the region that produces the black gold. It was eminent, it was everywhere we saw it. Environmental degradation, poverty, and all forms of economic injustice were meted out to the people of the Niger Delta region. It resulted into militancy, to protest. And guess what? How was the militancy? They were targeting government assets, pipelines, to draw attention to the problems in the region. Is that not so? They didn't go about kidnapping people across the country to protest this matter. But even when the government wanted to offer amnesty, in acknowledgement of the failure of the Nigerian state, what did the government do first? The government militarized the Niger Delta. People forget this. Every local government in the Niger Delta oil producing states had one special task force, a military formation of the proportion of a battalion led by a lieutenant colonel. It was militarized. The government deployed brute force to restore security. Look, Tompolo you are seeing today was smoked out.
That's right.
Of his campaign tunnel. While the Baramatu kingdom was bombarded aerially by the Nigerian Air Force. The palace of the Baramatu, the period of Baramatu, the Baramatu of Baramatu kingdom was raised down by the Nigerian Air Force. It was under this pressure that the elite of the Nigerians said, okay, if this was agreed to lay down arms, and government agrees to carry some level of restitution for the region, would there be peace? Both parties agreed. And there was a timeline. If you surrender between now and then, okay, we understand that this was within the context. Amnesty was not given to kidnappers in Niger Delta. Amnesty was not given to armed robbers in Niger Delta. No, it was militants under the guise of MENT or Niger Delta Volunteer Force, organized resistance. And again, we offended Niger Delta, a region that feeds all of us. What did I do to the cattle breeder, to the herdsman, to the Fulani herdsman, to warrant him to constitute himself into a bandit across the country? What did the Nigerian state do to the Fulani bandits? I want to know. What did you do to them? What offense did you commit to them? Nothing. I can't remember any petition for environmental degradation. No, nothing. They are the ones of their own gold. So what did we do to this group of people that they showed the entire country to ransom? I'm talking about amnesty. What did we do to them? What did we do? Nothing. It is pure criminality based on absolute nothing. And rather than deal with it as criminality, we are playing politics. And the region that is most affected has its leadership playing to the gallery, playing the ostrich, and not coming out forcefully to support the federal government to deploy full force to solve this problem. They keep giving one excuse of the other. You've heard Gumi now, as someone that's come to tell us all sorts of stories that they lack schools, that they don't have potable water, and so on and so forth. Mr. Sheriff, do you have potable water in your house? I don't have.
I don't have.
Do your children attend quality, affordable public healthcare institutions, or primary healthcare, or educational institutions? What is it that government really does for anybody in Nigeria, citizens? So why are we not all bandits protesting lack of potable water in our communities and kidnapping fellow members of our community and asking for ransom from the same community where we claim is being marginalized? It's pure madness that cannot be rationalized under any guise. But unfortunately, I think the president of Nigeria and other politicians from the south are wary of the largest voting demography in Nigeria, which is home to the bandits. And they don't want to offend sensibility. And I'm like, what sensibility are you not going to offend when people are being killed almost on a daily basis? Time without number, these negotiations have collapsed. This amnesty offer has collapsed. Because each time you do that, they embolden them. And let me tell you the danger in this, or in all of this. The rate of which we are feeding these bandits fat, a time will come that they will come for the state. Because they will now look at the fact that beyond those kidnapping individuals and collecting ransom, we can go for the state. We can defeat the Nigerian state. In case you do not know, my dear brother, the war going on in Sudan today is between former bandits and the government of Sudan, the military of Sudan. The RSF, the Rapid Support Forces, that is led by Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, we are former members of the Janjaweed militiamen, a group of Arab bandits that wreaked havoc in Western Darfur region of Sudan. And as a reward system, the government of Sudan, who are fellow Arabs like them, incorporate them into the Sudanese army. Today, they are challenging the authentic Sudanese armed forces for the control of the Sudanese state because they have become that powerful. If we are not careful, northern Nigeria might fall under the control of bandits. If it doesn't happen today, it will happen tomorrow, except the government takes decisive action today.
Wow. That sounds very, very scary, Dr. Majeed. Let's take our last story as we go. We have about 2 more minutes or less on the show today. And this is about the economy. Experts disagree as presidency says inflation will drop to single digit. This story is on page 20 of the Vanguard. I saw Tokwe Fashua talking about very, very excited and elated about the drop in the inflation numbers. And he said it will drop to single digit. And experts are saying that's a false claim. What do you think about this, Dr. Majeed?
Sometimes I don't like debating over statistics because the government can come up with a format. I mean, a new.
I know where you're going. I know where you're going with that.
Even my next week to single digit. So I mean, Dr. Fashua is my very good friend. So he has already given you a hint as to say this is going to be going down continuously every quarter on get to single digit. But is it reflective of the reality in the market? In any case, it's what they call inflation rate. It does not mean price of goods and services has come down. It means the rate at which it is increasing is slowing down. For instance, the price of bread before the government came into power was less than 1,000 naira, for instance, about 500 naira, 400 naira in some places. Now it has got to 1,500. Now, but because this government has done two things that they wouldn't admit that they have done, they have unfloated the naira tactically without announcing it by intervening through the auction of foreign exchange to bureau the change. They have been doing that for more than a year now. So that has stabilized the foreign exchange regime at about less than 1,600 to the dollar. Still very high, but stable at that rate. Importantly, very high, but it's stable. It's no longer rising as it was when they floated in national currency. Now, because of that, also this has also an effect on price of energy, which is mostly an internationalized commodity. So, price of petrol has remained largely around 1,000 naira mark for more than a year now. So, with these two factors combined, price of goods and services appear to have been stable at very high rates. That stability is what has reflected in the slowing of the rate of increase. But that does not mean it is Uhuru. It's not Uhuru at all. It's like we have stabilized in hell. We're still in hell, but we're stable there. We're not going to the higher level of higher echelon of hellfire. So what government needs to do is to bring us from outside of the hellfire.
Dr. Majeed.
And take us at least
Dr. Majeed.
in the corridor of paradise.
We must go now. We must go now. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's always a pleasure to have you. Lagos, that's our show this morning. We must go. It's back to Kofi on the Morning Crossfire.
7 p.m. Don't knack, na yellow clock be that.
Yes, so better don't come as the
99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info.